Hey, hello everybody, this is Purge, bringing you guys a patch update. So, sorry this is a little late, just was able to record now. We are going to be going over the new Dota patch. So if you guys are new Dota fans, you might not understand what's happening right now, but basically, the thing that continues to make the game exciting and continues to make it a little different is the patch updates. Every once in a while, IceFrog in the past will go through and slightly buff things that are not used or strong enough, and he will slightly nerf things that are not strong enough, or that are too strong, sorry. And usually this is balanced around the pro scene. Occasionally there'll be some very slight buffs that are modified or adjusted based on other circumstances like pub win rates for some heroes, but largely we're just talking about pro scene stuff. Some of the really good data, though, is actually using things like Dota buff, because you can track to see which heroes have the highest win rates and things like that, so that's always kind of fun too. But anyways, I'm going to try to go a little bit faster. We're going to read through these. I have not read these at all. I've heard some spoilers from various places, and it was like really tough not getting spoiled on crap loads of stuff. But this is naturally going to mean that I'm going to misinterpret some of these things, as happens every single time I do a patch video. So spoiler alert, I'm going to mess some of this stuff up, whether mechanics-wise or I'm going to misread it or something like that. So just anticipate that, and unfortunately there's nothing I can do about it. And it's just kind of going to be a... just like an occurrence of me doing it live. So this way you guys get my impressions and my instant feedback, and maybe not so much like analyzing this and planning everything out, which is probably not what you should be coming to me for, since I'm not a pro level player. So without further ado, let's get started. 6.79 gameplay update. I assume you guys can see this okay. I can make this bigger or smaller. I think this size looks a little bit better for the overall video. So alright, let's just get started. I should have got more water before I did this, but that's okay. Buyback prevents gaining unreliable gold. Creeps neutrals until your normal respawn time. Pretty cool. I'm not going to explain everything. I'll just explain what I think is important. I think that's pretty obvious. When buying back, 25% of the remaining respawn time is added to your next death. That's pretty cool. Creeps meet a bit closer to the tower in your offlane, which means your offlane hero should have better chance of getting experience and gold, which is pretty cool. Range heroes now get the same denied experience as melee heroes instead of less. Okay, I think that's fair. Non-ancient neutrals now split EXP with all heroes in the AoE instead of just the team that killed them. Okay, that's pretty good. What this basically means is, in the past when you would pull creeps, if your creeps killed the neutral creeps, your team would get the experience. If they lasted the neutral creep, only they would get the experience. So now, whenever the neutrals die, it's split with all heroes in the AoE. That includes, so basically, like, if your offlane hero stands next to the pull camp and the camp gets killed, you get half the experience. That's pretty cool. Interesting. It's basically giving a buff to offlane, which is what's happening in both of these. Okay, swap the medium pullable neutral camp with the small camp. I saw some pictures of this and it looks so weird, but basically the medium camp is now where the small camp used to be for both sides, and the small camp is now where the medium camp is. So one thing that this does, most importantly, it means there's less gold and less experience for your pull, and also it changes the pull timing a little bit as well, because some of the creeps run at different speeds, number one, and number two, you have to pull through a little bit faster. Although I would hypothesize that there's a pretty okay chance of the creeps killing the small camp, being able to kill a large camp, especially if it's a weak large camp, and then also pulling the other large camp into it, which is technically might be a buff for the radiant pull. Not sure. Because the radiant pull you can pull from medium, or it used to be a medium camp. You could pull to the pull camp, which is a small camp now. You could pull to the medium camp behind it, and you can also pull the large camp to that one. That's on radiant jungle. Dire jungle, you can only do 2 camps, pretty much, unless you can somehow pull the small camp, or the now medium camp. That's gonna be hard. A neutral creeps camp will no longer spawn the same set of neutral creeps twice in a row. Interesting. So there's no chance of mud golems being double stacked, for example. Okay. Small reduction to the pull timing duration of mid-radiant and mid-top dire camp. Satyr Mindstealer XP bounty is reduced. The Tormentor's XP is reduced. I think these are I believe this is basically focused on... Yeah, Trickster is the tiny one, I guess. So it's reducing the EXP gain for the large Satyrs and the medium Satyrs, because the Satyr Trickster is the one that casts Purge down here. So, interesting. Mud Golems give less EXP. Mud Golem's armor is reduced. Dark Troll Summoner EXP is reduced. And Hellbear Smasher's HP is reduced. Interesting. And armor is also reduced. So, number one. Hellbear Smashers have less survivability by far. So this makes jungling them easier. They're not as good on Chen, but I don't think that's really a big deal because nobody likes them that much anyways. These camps being reduced in EXP is pretty big. This because it's going to nerf Midas's because this EXP is not going to be bonused by 2.5. It won't be as strong. So Midas is a little bit worse. Other than that, I think it's just a jungle nerf. I saw some other people talking about this as well. They basically, the idea was that they're trying to reduce the amount of time that supports spend jungling and pulling and stuff like that. Dragon Ancient Camp now have flying movement capability, which means in the past they didn't have a pathing. They would actually fly over trees and stuff. So that means it's going to be a little bit harder to ancient jungling, to ancient jungle. This is good. Fix the neural envenomed weapons debuff dispelling regen items. Those are the small troll, or these small camps where those like little wolf things throw spears and they do 2 damage per second to you for 20 seconds. And that actually would disable like bottle and salves and stuff. It was really annoying when you actually did want to regen from them. It's like unnecessary, you know? It's like such a small amount of damage. Day-night length decrease from 6 to 4 minutes. This is pretty huge. So this means that there's only 4 days of day, and then it becomes nighttime at 4 minutes instead of 6 minutes. So pretty important to get your first ward up. It's gonna make the time of game where it's easier to gank earlier, which is pretty important. So that means supports can do more starting at the 4 minute mark. It's gonna be easier to gank mid, easier to gank other lanes at an earlier part in the game. So that's pretty cool. This also means Night Stalker is gonna be really strong before he hits level 6, or at least he's gonna have a better lane advantage, which is kind of interesting. I think that's pretty cool though. It's gonna cycle things. You're gonna have to be a little bit more aware of that stuff. Following heroes now have the standard 800 night vision. These are heroes that were changed, by the way. These were all pretty much heroes that had really weird night visions in the past. Drow Ranger had above average night vision. Mirana did. Puck had like 1100 or something. Leshrac. Enchantress, wow. She used to have 1800 night vision, so this is a pretty big nerf to her night vision. Meepo, Tree and Protector, Ancient Apparition. It's basically like ghost or nighttime based heroes would for some reason have like enhanced night vision. So I'd have to look at the list, but it's just kind of like, it's more of like a consistency thing. They're trying to bring more heroes to be more consistent. The reason this is probably OP, or why they would have been OP maybe it's like, I don't know if it's consistency or OP reasons. Roshan will respawn at a random time. Ooh, between 8 and 11 minutes. That's really cool. I like that. So what this is going to do is going to make games less formulaic. Teams won't necessarily be able to write down, they'll still write down the timer, but they're just going to be more warding on Roshan, and it won't be as much like, let's farm for 5 minutes, and then we're going to take Roshan exactly at this point, and then we're going to push. It'll be more like, it won't be like as predictable for the smoke ganks. Like smoke ganks will have to happen like as the timer is about to approach, and then it might be wasted because they'll respawn in 60 seconds, and maybe Roshan won't be up yet. So that's kind of cool. It'll add some slight randomness to the game, which I think is not too bad for late game scenarios, because people usually take late game scenarios a little too seriously. Well, that obviously they want to win, but it makes it less fun to watch, which is sometimes more important. When it expires unused, it heals the hero fully over 5 seconds. Regen dispels on damage from players. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot, actually. That's a cool little change. All right, starting gold increase from 603 to 625. Interesting. This is a difference of, what, 22 gold? I wonder what new item builds you can do instead. You can do, what boots is 450, so that'd give you 175. You could almost do a double tango with boots at start, but you won't be able to. Huh. If I'm not mistaken. 450 is 50, yeah, it's 175. You can almost do a double tango at start, but you can't. Which is probably why it's cut right after that mark, because otherwise people could start that and it'd be vaguely okay. Random gold bonus reduced by 50. I am very sad about that because I love randoming. Gold for any spree changed from this to this. I don't know what I don't want to sit and do the math. I'll skip that. Gold income is now 1 per 0.6 seconds, up from 1 per 0.8. So this means an overall gold increase for everybody on the map. If we do the math really quick on that. So we got gold per time, so 1 divided by 0.8 equals 1.25 gold per second. And 1 divided by 0.6 is now 1.66 gold per second. So this is a pretty big increase. This is like a 30% increase in guaranteed gold. It's going to be good for bad players who can't last hit, and it's going to be good for support heroes. So that's pretty cool. And technically good for carries too, because they'll get slightly more gold over time. Alright, tower last hit bonus gold increased. That's pretty cool. So it makes you more rewarded if you're good at last hitting towers. Melee barracks HP regen increased. Range barracks, oh interesting. So they cut all range barracks HP regen. The reason they do this is to slightly encourage people going over range barracks instead. And they've also reduced the HP a lot, and the armor has increased. That is, Why would they do this? They increased the range barracks HP, or they reduced it, but the armor increased to compensate, so that it takes more damage versus magic, I guess, than the melee barracks, I think. Evasion now stacks diminishingly. Didn't it before? I'm confused. Okay, this is a really good change, I think. You can no longer orb attack while attack restricted, such as Ethereal or Frostbite. So this is basically a nerf to Huskar with Ghost Scepter. It's also actually a pretty nice buff to Crystal Maiden. What you could do before is if you're Ghost Scepter or you were attack restricted or entangled in a way, like I don't know if Lone Druid completely counts, or I think Overgrowth is technically the same thing. Overgrowth is the same thing, I believe. I might be wrong about Overgrowth, but Frostbite and Ethereal in the past, if you had an orb like Frost Orb or Huskar's Burning Spears, or what else is there? I'm missing some, but it's like an orb attack basically that is toggleable. You could activate it manually. Oh, Poison Attack for Viper. If you clicked it manually and then left clicked your opponent, you could cast through Frostbite or Ghost Scepter. So this is a pretty big nerf to Huskar, which should make him less OP basically. He can't just like get low HP, pop Ghost Scepter, and nobody can do anything to him. So no longer automatically ignore backswing time by default. Rupture. I don't know what the hell this means. Let's just skip it. Abaddon, base armor reduced by 1. He's a little too strong. Miscoil self-damage increased. This is a moderate nerf here. Aphotic Shield is now dispellable, which means there's a couple dispel abilities. Like, for example, the Storm Panda has a dispel that does very limited things. Borrowed Time no longer activates while doomed. That's pretty cool. I like that a lot, actually. So that gives a pretty hard counter to Abaddon, and the one ability that literally counters everybody. So let's do it. Alchemist Chemical Rage no longer provides bonus HP. Interesting. Wow. I don't know if you saw my eyes, but I was like, whoa. Oh, I love reading patches. I'm getting so hyped right now. They're so fun. I love reading little balance shades, theory crafting. Chemical Rage HP regen increase. So basically, rather than just making your HP a lot higher, it just gives you a lot of HP regen, which means that in the future, it may put a lot more priority for Alchemist to just grab a large HP item, which in the past, Vanguard Alchemist was very standard. Or more importantly, what it might just force you to do is just grab something Power Treads more regularly, or grab a early Vitality Booster. Because as long as you have enough HP total, you can hopefully stay alive long enough to get the regen up. And it increases the regen by a lot. 50 at level 6 is huge. That's a lot of regen. So increasing total HP and increasing your resistances is going to be the most important now, most likely. Ice Vortex cooldown reduced, whatever. Ice Blast cooldown reduced, whatever. Chilling Touch buff is now always applied to Ancient Apparition, even if he is not. Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought this was like permanent. I was like, that is not fair. But what that basically means is you can cast it on some allies away from you, and if you're not within the AoE, it's fine. Basically, that's pretty good, because then it makes it so his positioning can be better. He doesn't have to get into melee range to cast on the melee heroes as much, which means he's more likely to stay survivable. Just slight buffs to the hero because he's not played. Axe's Berserker's Call AoE increases from 275 to 300, which is fine, whatever. He's not played in the pro scene. Battle Hunger duration reduced, and the damage is also reduced at all levels. The movement slow, the slow is increased, and it's also dispellable. So all around nerfs to Battle Hunger, which I think is fine. The skill is really good. It's probably his best ability. Hopefully they will buff other areas as I read on. Counter Helix cooldown, and the reason I say this is because at the moment Axe is more of like a ganking trick pony. Like, you pick Axe so that you can gank with Battle Hunger. Like, Counter Helix and Berserker's Calls are honestly like off to the side effects of why the hero is used. It's literally getting level 3 in the jungle, and then you go gank side lanes and get kills with Battle Hunger, and then you can start snowballing and maybe get some spins off. But unless you're at a low level, honestly, the hero is all about Battle Hunger, in my opinion. I really don't think it's that Counter Helix is that great as it was standing. So they reduced the cooldown for it, so that means you can spin more often. It hits siege units, which is pretty cool. Culling Blade no longer goes on cooldown if it successfully kills a hero. That's a really big buff to him. Getting some mana to him would be pretty nice. And if anything, this kind of makes Aghanims a bit of a waste, because the reason you grabbed Aghanims in the first place was to reduce the cooldown a lot. Although, if you do grab Aghanims, it puts on a 6-second cooldown. You can actually use it for a nuke. But in my experience of doing that, usually what happens is I nuke with it, and then they get low enough where I could have actually ultied them, and then I'm like, oh, I'm on cooldown for 3 more seconds. And I'm like, I shouldn't have nuked him in the first place for, 300 damage or whatever it does. Culling Blade threshold is reduced. Okay, so the Aghanims increases the threshold. I think that's probably a better buff than just the cooldown. The speed bonus increased from 25% to 40%. That's a huge buff. So huge movement speed advantage for Culling Blade when you chop somebody. It gives a 40% speed bonus now that applies to attack speed. Wow, that's good. And the allied buff duration increased from 6 to 10. Like huge buffs to his ulti, basically. That makes your team run and attack a lot faster. 40% is obscene. That's like 120 movement speed or something like that. 30 on average times 4 is, yeah. So a really, really big movement speed bonus there for a lot of time. And attack speed. Mana cost is also reduced. I like this, because he usually has mana problems if you don't grab like Arcane Boots or something. Batrider, more nerfs to him because he's too good. Huge base damage nerf. Holy crap. Holy crap. Huge base damage nerf. That is 10 damage, guys. That's a lot of damage. This means that you have to use at least one level of Sticky Napalm to hit the same amount of damage that you were in the past at level 1. That is a big nerf, but it's honestly probably a little granted. Vision is reduced. This is pretty big, actually. Daytime vision for a regular hero is 1800. This means it's a little harder for him to spot targets, basically. 1400 to 1200 is a pretty big difference. I assume this is overall vision, daytime vision. I might be wrong, though. It doesn't explicitly say daytime vision. Flame and Lasso, cast range reduced from 175 to 100. I'm okay with that. It's basically making the hero worse. This hero's been OP and really, really strong for a very long time. He's so good. His skill set is amazing. All right, Beastmaster Inner Beast AoE reduced from 100 to 1,900. That's fine. Scaling is rescaled. So it is worse at level 1 and better at level 4. Very slightly, and better at level 3 as well. Call of the Wild now has 2 abilities. Interesting. So you can summon each ability separately now. So one can summon the Hawk, one can summon the Boar. The mana cost is reduced from 25 to 15 and cast point improved. That's really cool. So you can actually summon the Boar a lot faster and you don't have to worry about the Hawk dying with it. So, pretty cool. Very, very interesting buffs that are going to make the hero better, I promise. Alright, Bloodseeker, I was spoiled on these one. Base movement speed reduced by 5. Thirst is now global instead of 6,000 range, which is huge. It means any person being low HP, Thirst is his I'm running fast because you're about to die skill. A bonus now stacks for each unit that is low HP. So this is all heroes on the map globally. The HP threshold is increased to 50%. That means anybody under 50% gives him a movement speed bonus. Anybody on the map. That's crazy. And the movement speed bonus is reduced heavily per person. That means that if there's one guy that's low, he doesn't become insanely fast. It takes at least one. So as you can see, the scaling is much, much worse for his movement speed, which I think is fair. When Thirst's active movement speed cap is removed on here, this is the big change. This is something that's very, very rarely ever happened in Dota. The only hero that can run faster than 522 previous to this was Spiritbreaker charging. It was the only thing that can move faster. The reason is because there were constraints of Warcraft 3 coding that made it you couldn't run faster than 522. I saw a post, I didn't read it, on Reddit that said, is this the end of Dota 1 updating? And it just might be, because this is something I'm pretty sure they just can't do in Warcraft 3. So maybe this is the end for that. I don't know. It no longer provides an armor bonus. This is a buff that they applied previously, and it actually provides bonus damage. This is really cool. This could encourage you to go treads over phase, because now you're getting damage from Thirst, which means you want attack speed to make that do more damage. Maybe. Although, since the movement speed cap is removed, you probably want to stick to phase still, because you're literally never going to cap out on movement speed. There's little reason, unless you want to spend the money on more important things like HP or damage, to not get more movement speed items, because that could make you really fast. There's some videos on Reddit where a Bloodseeker literally runs across the entire map from one fountain to the other in like it's like 15 seconds, but it's crazy fast. He like outruns, it looks like you got fountain hooked basically, except it's a hero that's running. It's crazy. But that's like a lot of low HP heroes and tons of movement speed items, so it's kind of crazy. And it no longer lasts for an extra 3 seconds when the hero is dead. We'll see how this plays out. From here, it looks really amazing, but who knows? It might suck in game. You really don't know. Brewmaster base agility increased by 6, so this is an almost 1 armor buff. It gives you 6% extra attack speed. Drunken Haze affects a 200 AoE on the target. It's a cool little buff there. Thunderclap is now dispellable. That is his clap, his first skill. And Primal Split selection order is now Earth Stormfire. This is a mistake. In the past, it was always Earth Stormfire, and then I think there was a bug where it became Fire, Earth, Storm. This actually messed me up the last time I played Brewmaster, actually. I was confused with it a couple times. Because usually you just select D and left click and you stun a guy. But then they changed it. Reworked the Aghanims. Previously what I would do is apply your Drunken Brawler passive to your Panda. So we'll see how it changes. No longer upgrades any stats, CD, duration, etc. on Aghanim. Instead it now grants Thunderclap to Earth, Drunken Haze to Storm, and Drunken Brawler to fire. The skills granted are at the same level as Brewmaster's skills. Cooldowns are independent of the original Brewmaster. This is very interesting. So this changes a couple things. First of all, you have a lot more nuke potential as you use your ulti, because the Earth Panda can do a stun for 2 seconds, and then he can clap for 55% slow, which is huge, hugely increased offensive potential. Also, you still guarantee that you have Drunken Haze while you Panda Split, which is going to encourage people using that skill. So now Storm has 2 ways to disable, and it vastly increases the micro potential of Panda. You're basically going to clap, maybe Drunken Haze. I don't know if the cooldowns are separate, but you'll split off, you'll throw a stun with the boulder, you'll cyclone one guy, you're going to Drunken Haze the other, and then you're going to clap again with the Earth Panda. That is way more micro and sounds a lot more high skill, which is cool, because in the past all the Storm would do is you'd spawn him, you'd cyclone a guy, you'd go into Viz, and then you'd right click a guy once, and you'd wait for cooldowns. Also you'd throw the boulder, obviously. And yeah, that's still very difficult to do appropriately. You could use Dispel from Storm on certain things, but like I said, it was very, very random. But apparently you can Thunderclap. Isn't that Thunderclap? Maybe I might be wrong. Thunderclap. I assume it's this first skill. I assume that's Thunderclap because it's saying the same thing about Drunken Haze. So it's probably the same thing. All right, cool. Bristle Point, attack point improved. This means his animation is better, which is blowing my mind because he has one of the best animations in the whole game. I love his attack animation. And this is, in a way, is good because Viscous Nasal Goo, there it is, cast point is improved. It actually takes up a lot of time to cast Viscous Nasal Goo when you could actually be right-clicking. So they reduce his attack point so he can do his animation faster, which means there's more time casting spells, which means his Warpath stacks are higher, which means his overall DPS is higher. More minus armor, more slow in them, less time spent attacking, less time spent casting, which means that you can basically do attack, goo, faster, with less time in between, so less time wasted, more DPS. Warpath max stacks increased from 5 to 5, 6, 7, so another buff to him, and the stack duration increased from 10 to 14. This is pretty big. He could honestly carry with this. We'll see. But the duration increasing means that you can easier get to 5, 6, 7 stacks. Because I honestly, the amount of times I play Bristleback, the only way to get your Warpath stacks above 3 or 4 is if you cast a lot of goo. And it's going to be better to do so, and it won't hurt your DPS as much. So I like these buffs. Very slight buffs to Bristleback. Broodmother, I heard some people freaking out about this one. Spin Web AoE increase from 650 to 900. It's a huge AoE increase. The cast range is increased from 600 to 1000, so it's much safer to do it. In the past, I'd like to point out, if the AoE was 650, to cast it, you need to cast to the center of the web. So this means that you'd basically be casting your web on the very outside of where the web places, which is sometimes dangerous if they have sentry wards. So you can now cast it from safety. Actually, you can cast it slightly outside of the range, so it's kind of the same situation, but regardless, pretty cool. The cast point is actually a lot higher, so it takes twice as long to cast, but it's not that bad. It's not that much of a cooldown. This is equivalent to the Viscous Nasal Goo, for example. For reference point, 0.4 seconds is not very much. So, what it used to be, at least. It no longer destroys trees. This is interesting. This is valid for why it's much bigger, because now you can't just cast it on some trees and break all the trees. And now completely unobstructed movement when under the web can walk over cliff trees. Wow. So she can run through trees. The trees aren't destroyed. It's like you have a permanent spectral dagger. This looks really, really strong. And really good for the offlane. Not bad for mid either at all. Mid, it gives you a lot more options here. You can get behind people very easily. You can go rune control. You can go stack ancients with 8 seconds instead of having to run this big zigzag to stack ancients. Not that anybody's ever going to play Broodmother mid, but I'm just saying, think of the implications. You could put this by Roshan pit and do some crazy stuff. You can do some cool stuff in the offlane. You can easily get runes a lot easier, for example. That's pretty cool. Stampede slow duration increased from 1.25 seconds to 1.5. Apparently, he's not happy with the amount that Centaurs played in the pro scene. Cast bolt damage and stun values are now inversely related. Interesting. You know what? That's fucking cool. What this means is that if you get really unlucky and you get a 1 second stun, you are going to hit them for a lot of damage. This is going to make you feel better, which is awesome. So, and if you get a 4 second stun, no complaining. You stun them for 4 seconds. You should be making up that damage. So it basically lowers the randomness factor and more normalizes the amount of cool shit you do with one skill. It's like there's basically a chance of you stunning for 2 seconds and doing a small amount of damage. There's also a chance of you stunning for 4 seconds and doing a ton of damage, which basically makes Chaos Knight's effectability this big up. It's not that big relatively, but it makes it a big range of how strong you are as a hero. And now it's focusing it more. And this may say like, oh, but what about all this cool stuff that we don't get over here where we can get really lucky? Well, yeah, you don't have to deal with this bad stuff. And more importantly, it makes you understand the hero much better and what it's capable of and how often you can get kills. And what that means is when things are very normalized and you can understand all the factors going into a situation, it helps you be a better player with that hero. So this is like really cool. I like this. The mentality is great. All right, Chen, Test of Faith, Teleport is now dispellable. I don't know where all these dispels are. All right. There's been a lot of stuff talking about dispels right now, and I have not seen any new introductions to something that can dispel. I don't know if there's an item coming up or what, but it looks pretty cool. I'm hyped about this so far. Again, dispellable means things like Dispel, the Storm Panda's ability that nobody ever uses, because it's almost never useful, except for like stopping your Cyclone from going for 6 full seconds. Head of God cooldown increase, so a nerf to Chen here basically makes him worse at level 6. Which is actually a pretty big nerf because it's very rare that a Chen will actually hit level 16. And sometimes even getting to a level 11 before the game is out of control can be difficult when playing Chen. Clink's Searing Arrows damage increased. That is a big buff. 30 damage at level 1. That's so much. And the mana cost increased. So it is compensated by some mana. It's no longer blocked by Magic Community. Pretty cool. So that means BKB. This is actually pretty nice, actually. There's a lot of BKB carries that when they pop BKB, there's no way you can deal with them. But now you could hypothetically pick Clinks against them and just DPS them down. So a hero that comes to mind is Faces Void. If Faces Void pops a Mask of Madness and a BKB, Clinks is going to blow the shit out of him because he's going to do 60 extra damage per right click and it goes right through Magic Community. This is going to hurt Omni Knight. This is going to hurt any BKB heroes. And this is largely just kind of a cool way to make Clinks relevant. You can make him and pick him as a counter to BKB carries, who very often, honestly, will be weak to physical damage. It's always the funnest part of the game, or the most fun part of the game, in my opinion, when an enemy carry pops BKB and you just kill that bastard anyways. It's awesome. Just by right-clicking him. They think they're all safe and stuff, and you're just like, nope. Arrows. All right, Clockwork. Units knocked back by power cogs destroy trees in 100 AoE. This is smart. The reason this is added is because in the past there's occasionally freak circumstances where you'll be cogged by power cogs, you'll be pushed into trees, and you'll get trapped. I don't know if this will be the same as Roar. I've seen that happen a lot with Roar and Beastmaster. Actually, I already read Beastmaster Patch Notes, so I know for a fact it doesn't happen. So, okay. I'm fine with this. I think it's legitimate. It prevents for abuse as well, basically. Freezing Field, attack speed, movement speed, AoE slow increased from -20 and -30 to 30-30, which means the attack speed slow is increased. The amount that it slows is increased. The Field Scepter, attack speed, movement speed, AoE slow. Interesting, 50-50. I did not realize, I forgot that it did this. So if you grab an Aghanims on Crystal Maiden now, it reduces attack speed and movement speed by 50% in a team fight. This is pretty big. It's very unlikely Crystal Maiden will be able to ulti and apply that during a team fight, so I don't really expect to see this getting used even still, because Crystal Maiden is by far much better as a support hero. There's going to be very little circumstances where CM has the ability to farm Ags. Ever. And she won't be played mid or in a farming role until her base damage or animation get massively buffed, so I largely think that this is going to do absolutely nothing. Nobody's going to build an Ags on Crystal Maiden unless you're playing pubs. 100%. I just don't see it happening. Darkseer Vacuum, cooldown increase, so further nerfs to Darkseer to make the hero less useful because he is damn good. Dazzle Weave duration rescaled from 12, 18, 24 to 20. Interesting. So they must be reworking the ulti? Or his eggs, maybe? The weave armor per second rescaled. Okay, so it does more armor per second. Okay, so the duration is always going to be the same. I assume this means the cooldown is the same. I believe the cooldown is 30 seconds? 40 seconds? I can't remember exactly. I remember the uptime is very close to, it's not very close to 100%, but it's very high with eggs. But interesting. This is good. It basically encourages you to grab Dazzle Ulti at level 6. A bit more, because the problem with it is it's a very small timing window. It's hard to use it effectively. This means that you have a much longer period of time where it's doing something. Even if it doesn't do as much the first couple seconds, that's fine. It'll give you more time to force them into fighting or something. Poison damage, touch damage increased. Cool. So it does more damage at level 1 basically. Scales better. See, what it did before would be double and then increase by 8. I guess it's always increasing by 8. This is basically just better at level 1 and scales to still be better at all levels except for level 4. So that's cool. It's now dodgeable, so this means you can blink dodge it, which I think is fair. It kind of looks like projectile in the past, but it was not. The slow timing's rework. Let's see. Slow target by 33%. This is previous. For 1 second. The slow is so bad at level 1. It was so bad. Now it slows by 33% for 3 seconds. Huh. It's actually okay at level 1 now. Wow, that was really good before. 33% for 1 second, slow target by 66% for 1 second, and then stun for 1 second. That's cool. So now it does 33% for 2 seconds and slow by 66. Okay. Alright, so the level 4 is going to be the same. The level 3, if we compare it, is actually the same. Wait. Oh no, does it no longer stun? Okay, it only stuns at level 4. Level 3 does a huge slow for the 3rd second. Level 2 is still better, I believe. 2 seconds and then 1 second, yeah. So basically the slow is better at the 1st level, better at the 2nd level. It is, in my opinion, worse at level 3 because it doesn't stun anymore. It just does a 100% slow, which is still pretty darn slow. This is equivalent to what Centaur does when he runs over you. So it's worse at level 3, but it's better at level 1 and level 2, which is pretty important in my opinion. This basically means that Dazzle is going to be a better hero in the early game, which is important because that's why nobody plays him, because he sucks before level 7, 8-ish. He just takes a lot of levels before his abilities start getting really good. So I think this is very good. Still many stuns at all at the start. That might just be for level. No, that's at all levels. At all levels, it does a mini stun at the start. You can stop TPs. Death Prophet, Exorcism, Spirit Damage increased. I think this is very needed. I think Exorcism honestly kind of sucks. It's great at pushing towers, but if you want to push a tower, just draft a Leshrac, for example. I think this is really important, honestly. She didn't do that much damage with her ulti. It's good, but it doesn't do that much damage. Disruptor Kinetic Field AoE increased. Okay. Glib's cooldown reduced by quite a bit at level 4. Slight nerf for him at level 1, but most people will put 2 points in skill anyways, so no big deal. Static Storm AoE increase. This means the ulti has bigger AoE. Pretty important. And the max damage increased by a moderate amount. The Aghanim's upgrade Static Storm silences items and lasts 2 extra seconds. This is really good. This is an AoE Doom, basically. Yeah, this is an AoE Doom. That's really cool. And the most awesome thing about this is that it means that Disruptor doesn't just start sucking really bad as soon as they get BKBs. It doesn't matter. Well, okay, if they pop BKB and then run into it, they will not have to worry about Static Storm. But if you catch them with Static Storm, you will see wipes. And this could really make Disruptor viable, especially as a mid laner. Somebody tweeted this at me. He could be played as mid in the past. It's happened. Bulba used to really like playing Disruptor mid. Totally happened. But now, the reason I say mid and not a support, because the support's unlikely to finish the eggs. And usually you're going to be behind enough where it's hard to actually finish an eggs. But if you play in mid and you actually do pick up an eggs, and you're able to get a Static Storm, which by the way has an instant cast time, and then Kinetic Field, a group of an enemy team, if you AoE Doom them and it does 300 damage per second, or at max, it doesn't do 300 damage per second of course, but it works up to that. If you're doing that max damage on enemy heroes in a big team fight, and it lasts for 2 extra seconds, holy shit. This is really good. I could definitely see Disruptor being played as a mid hero. He's easy to gank in a lot of ways, and his solo kill potential is not good before level 6. Regardless of this, he could be used. He's pretty good if you have supports come gank, because you can glimpse back into like a kinetic field and you got a kill. But he's not the best solo ganker. I think this could definitely make Disruptor viable, honestly. Eggs, that is really good. Silences items, that means people can't just get a BKB. They can't just get a Force Staff and Force Staff out of the static field before the kinetic field comes up. It stops a lot of things. So this is a pretty good buff to Disruptor. Doom cooldown reduced from 110 to 100, and now removes positive buffs on the target before applying the debuff. That would remove things like Aphotic Shield. It would remove Borrowed Time, which is his ulti, Abaddon's ulti. It would remove other positive buffs. I don't know what else. Warlock heal, things like that. So this probably counts as a Dispel or something. Now AoE requirement increased from 550 to 900. Yeah, this is talking about the Aghanim's AoE. I still don't think Eggs is worth it. Dry Ranger Precision Aura Damage ratio increased to be slightly better at level 1 and slightly better at level 4. It no longer affects creeps at all. This is good. In the past, you'd grab a level Precision Aura, then your range creep would hit for like literally 2 times the damage, which makes it really hard to last it. It's hard enough to last it pre-6 with Drow, in my opinion, because their animation sucks. But when those range creeps hit for a completely different value than what you're expecting in every other game of Dota you play, it really messes you up. It can be manually casted to affect creeps globally for 30 seconds on a 120 second cooldown. This is really cool. This is really cool. I like this. You could do this for pushing when you have a couple range creeps build up. You could do this for if you wanted to push, for example. You could push lanes out a little bit faster using this. I like this. It's really cool. It doesn't cost mana, I assume. Marksmanship, attribute, negation, AoE increased. This means they're, wow. So regardless of all these cool little buffs, this means that if a hero is within 400 range of Drow Ranger, she doesn't have her ulti, which is a pretty big hit to her, so she needs to stay from range. Pretty important. Earthshaker enchant totem damage increase, so they made my Earthshaker video better. I will post that tomorrow, by the way. I know I said on my little, like, juke clip that I was going to post it today, but patch notes are way more important, so I'll post that tomorrow. Fissure range also increased by 100, so slight buff to Earthshaker. Fissure range is pretty good, though. Ancestral Spirit damage reduced down to 200 at level 4, because Elder Titan is too strong right now, is what a lot of people say. Again, this is going to do pure damage approximately when slightly more than pure damage when the aura is up at max level 4. So this means that the hero will be less annoying to harass, or at least will be less annoying when he harasses you. Midnight Pulse DPS increased, so pretty good buffs to that actually. It's going to encourage people to use that ability more. Added Aghanim's upgrade adds Midnight Pulse damage to your black hole. This damage stacks with Midnight Pulse. Holy shit. I am so getting Ags a lot now. That sounds really cool. That's really good. Alright, in the past, guys, think of it this way. Whenever people blink black holes, they don't drop Midnight Pulse. You don't have the time. You need to drop the black hole to guarantee all the people don't have time to react. If you drop a Midnight Pulse first, they are going to blink, they're going to pop BKBs, they are going to react. They might even stun you, who knows. If you can just get a guaranteed Midnight Pulse right off the bat from your black hole, and you get 4 seconds, and it does 7%, this means that we are now doing 28% of their total HP just by a 4% channel. That is huge. That's added on top of the original black hole damage that it already does. It already does damage. If you Midnight Pulse on top of that, you are dropping a total of 56% of their HP if you have Midnight Pulse and eggs. And then you add on the black hole damage whenever they're doing. You could literally take off half of your opponent's entire HP. This also makes it very good against strength heroes or high HP targets. I love this. This is alright. Love is maybe a little strong, but I think it's really cool. And it's actually an item that Enigma could find useful. Blink and BKB are always more important, as is mech in my opinion. But if somebody else is making a mech, eggs looks pretty cool. I wouldn't say it's good, but I think it's cool. I think grabbing utility items are more important. The eggs, like, you don't usually use black hole for damage anyways, basically. You want to use it to disable somebody that needs to be disabled and you score a kill. And I've played some Enigma games where I honestly don't even need to black hole to win the game in some ways. So I don't know if this is necessarily good, but I think it's a really cool thing that I'll probably dick around with and try it a lot in pubs. It's awesome. And Enigma does need stats to stay more survivable. So the build up, the item itself is not bad. Untouchable attack speed slow increased to be even better. Alright, better at level 1 as well. Time walk slow rescaled to be worse at level 1, better at level 4. So it's going to encourage you to put more skill points in there. And the Chronosphere AoE is increased by 50. Huskar's agility is reduced by a huge amount. So it goes -5 at level 1, so less armor, which is good because that increases his ability to take damage physically, which is his weakness. And also the gain, the agility gain is much worse. This means he's going to have slightly less attack speed, moderately less attack speed. This is a pretty big strength or agi gain difference. And a lot less armor. So let's do a reference. So let's say level 10 Huskar, for example. He's going to be missing 10 agility from the gain and also 5 from here. So he's going to attack. He's going to have 15% less attack speed. He's also going to have 2 1/7 less armor at level 10. So pretty nice. A nice reduction to his damage output, basically. Also, Berserker's Blood is now disabled by Doom. So Doom counters everything again. Yeah! This is really cool. If you just pick Doom against Huskar now, you can just Doom him in a team fight, and he literally will do nothing. He'll just die. It'll be great. I love it. I love it. EMP restores Invoker for 50% of the mana drains from heroes. Pretty cool. So a slight buff to Quaswex Invoker. I still need to learn the timing on the Tornado EMP. It's harder now, because the EMP you can't land while they're tornadoed in the air. Excluding illusions. Invoke max spells rescaled from... Oh, that's really cool. So now you get 2 spells at all levels of Invoke rather than just level 1. A nice... that's actually a really cool way to buff Invoker in the early game without making him too good. It doesn't make his last hitting better, it just means he has more spell options. So he doesn't just have to sit on Cold Snap. He can have Cold Snap and Tornado, or he can have Sunstrike and Cold Snap. Always up at all times, so you don't have to worry about like, oh, sorry guys, I just queued up Cold Snap so that I could have some lane control, and now is when you decide to go on and you demand a Sunstrike, and I'm on cooldown for 15 seconds or something. So that's cool. Tether now does minus 100% movement speed and attack speed slow instead of a stun. I really like this. This is cool. If you guys didn't know, Tether did a stun between 1.5 and 225 or 2.25 seconds, something like that. I think it's like 1.25 to 2.25, 2.5 seconds, something like that, was the stun in the past. And what would be really annoying is if you'd blink into a team fight onto the tether and get stunned. It was very frustrating if that ever happened to you. It's very frustrating. This also means that the Wisp is going to be worse, especially with more normal heroes like, I don't know, Troll. Troll can't just like run forward and like gets a stun off on you. Stuns are oftentimes just so frustrating to deal with and difficult to deal with, and does make the hero a much bigger threat. So it's going to hurt him in the pro scene. It's still going to matter in pubs and things like that, but I'm actually really happy this is added. It's probably going to absolutely plummet the amount of times Chaos Knight is played because his uber combo of Chaos Knight Wisp is now much worse. So I think they might eventually have to buff Chaos Knight as a result, because he's honestly not going to get played anymore because of this, in my opinion. I don't think he will be, at least. Because that stun is too big. You would use Reality Rift, they would get instant stunned, and then you could throw the stun. If you're forced to use your Chaos Bolt right off the bat, that's oftentimes, at least in the early game, might not be enough stun. They're going to have time to react. They're going to have to at least either dodge the Chaos Bolt or stun the Chaos Knight before he gets the stun off. You can even phase shift, for example. There's a lot of ways to get away from it. Liquid Fire is now castable attack orb. Same cooldown, no mana cost. Really cool. I like this. So you can basically plan how to use your Liquid Fire now, rather than just whatever arbitrary attack you throw out. So you can actually grab this early on in lane if you really want to, and it's not as bad. Healing Ward movement speed increased, so a lot faster. 450 from 300 is a big difference. Omni/Scepter cooldown reduced to a huge 70, so a lot lower. And Omni/Slash no longer stops if the target's ethereal. It still doesn't do damage, but it will continue to jump, basically, until they run into something that's closer that doesn't have ethereal. Actually, it'll just keep slashing away, just won't do damage. So this is good. A buff to Juggernaut, and his hard counter of ethereal is not going to exist anymore. Fix not being able to use items during Omni/Slash. Cool. Dagon Omni/Slash, I'm ready for it. Keeper of the Light. Blinding Light now destroys trees in 150 AoE around where the target is pushed. Okay. It's going to prevent people from trapping people in trees as easy. Similar to the Clockwork thing. X marks the spot, cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds. Ghost Ship damage increased again. Damn, man, they are just buffing the hell out of this. This used to only do 300 damage at level 1, by the way. Kunko was actually seeing buffs and buffs and buffs, and people were like, oh, he's a good hero, let's use him in the pro scene. And then they had bad win rates, and they gave up. So we'll maybe see him back. Okay, I like this. Diabolic Edict cast point improved from 0.7 to 0.5. This means, by the way, this cast point went from 0 to 0.7 in the past, so this is slowly working its way back down to where Leshrac was OP. And Pulse Nova Scepter damage is also increased. I don't remember. Oh, okay, this was the change. 88, and now it's 100. Now it's 150 and 200. So pretty good. Makes his Scepter a bit better. Lich. Frost Armor has half effect against ranged heroes. This is very good. In the past, Lich was very situationally picked, basically against only melee carries, but it's good that it works against ranged heroes. Now it opens up the hero being picked. The slow now stacks with the slow from Frost Nova, which apparently it didn't do in the past. This made sense in Warcraft 3. Maybe it didn't, because the Frost Arm was actually a coded ability. Sacrifice cooldown is increased as well. Okay, so it's worse at level 1, better at level 4. So this is going to force people to probably grab at least a 3rd or 4th level. This is the one area where actually Lich was very annoying to play against, because they've increased the mana gain per level. So it basically means that it still gives them about as much mana, but it's not as annoying to play against, because you can't just pick them to sack creeps and like absolutely neuter your last hitting. Ooh. It no longer denies enemy XP. This is only important. Converts your own creep for XP. Okay. This is only important if you sacrifice within EXP range. This means if you deny a creep... Man, I can't believe you get the full... Like, surely you get at least a deny. It does not. Okay. They didn't word this very well, in my opinion. It denies enemy EXP. It denied in the sense that it didn't give them any. 0 EXP. If you sack a creep in front of their face, it's gone. 0 EXP. I would argue maybe it should give deny EXP. But what they're doing is basically meaning like the creep dies and the EXP is shared. So what you would just have to do now is when you want to deny a creep, you run back as the creep wave is approaching and you deny it outside of EXP range, and you can still be completely denied. It's very similar to what Enigma can do, although Enigma gets a deny. If you want to deny them in their face, they get half the EXP or whatever it is. If you want to completely deny them, you deny them outside of the EXP range. So regardless, overall breaking even on Lich. I wouldn't say he's buffed completely, but I'd say kind of buffed. Kind of buffed. Rage cooldown is increased, so making Lifestealer a bit worse, which is fine. Here's really strong still. Or strong. Open wounds and infest cast points increased. Okay. I like this. So it takes him a little bit longer to cast open wounds. We'll see this effect is DPS and gank and solo kill potential. Also survivability, because he's going to have to cast a spell to get inside somebody with Infest. It'll be harder to dodge spells with it. Lena attack range increased again by 15. Now one of the longest attackers. Hex mana drain duration increased from 4 to 5. Hex cooldown increased, so strongly encouraging you to level the skill a bit earlier, and the duration is also increased. Okay, so it's 2.5 at level 1, up to 4. So you could, so basically, if they would have just increased the hex duration at level 1, people would probably start just putting it at level 1, because this is so much duration. Why grab 4 points, and you could just grab 1 point and get, 70% of the duration total. And they counterbalance this by really increasing the cooldown if you end up only grabbing a single point. So this makes sense. This is why they did this. It basically means Liyen is a bit stronger earlier, but not enough to make him like where all of a sudden he has basically 1 or 2 free skill points, kind of. Because basically, like, think about it in the past. He would have to get 2 skill points to get to 2.5. You can now use that skill point on a mana drain if you want to. So that means that all of a sudden Liyen is like OP at level 4. It's like he's a level 5, basically. So slight adjustments there. I think it's a smart way to do it. Lone Druid base movement speed increased from 315 to 325, which is pretty darn good. This makes you more survivable pre-6. The Spirit Bearer XP bounty increased, though. So this means not only does it give you 300 gold, it also gives you 300 XP. And that's big. If we remember what we were talking about for neutral creeps at the start of the video, which I'm sure was like 5 hours ago, the satyrs and the trolls were giving about 155. So this means that the Spirit Bearer is now giving technically about 3 times what those large camps are, because they were nerfed down to like 111, I think. So it's basically twice of what an old large neutral creep used to give, which is quite a bit of experience. If you could Midas this thing, it would hit you up like 2 levels. It would literally level you up like twice. That'd be crazy. Luna Moonglaive can now bounce back on the same units if you've already hit all other units nearby. That's cool. This used to happen, I feel like, in Warcraft 3. I might be wrong, though. But that means if there's only 2 units, that it actually largely greatly increases the usefulness of grabbing more levels of Moonglaive. Because now you can just kind of like, it increases reduce from -30 to, okay, so now the bounces do less. But if there's only 2 heroes, you're like throwing Chain Frost every attack. So it's kind of cool. Well, we'll make her slightly better late game, I would say. Won't matter that much in the early game, I would say. Eclipse Scepter Beam count limit per target removed. So this also means that you can now grab a Aghanim Scepter on Luna, and you can ulti one guy with like 12 Lucent Beams, which is pretty good. That's pretty good. No, it's more than 12. I think, isn't it like 15 or something? You could do so much damage to one guy. Would one Luna ulti with an Aghanim Scepter kill Husker? The answer is no, of course, but it would be cool to see him get hit that much and still live. Lycanthrope armor increased by 1. Shapeshift total armor is the same as before. So I think that means... that when you ulti, you still have the same armor. So it's like a -1 nerf to Shapeshift, which is still a buff to Lycan. Base damage increased by 5, so it makes him stronger at laning. Howl bonus damage for non-hero units increased by a very slight amount. And Wolves' magic resistance increased from 50 to 80%. So this basically means Wolves are less shitty. I think they were probably a little too overnerfed. They went from 400 HP and 0% magic resistance, I believe, to 200 HP and 50%. So that meant they took the same amount of magic to die, but they took way less physical, which actually, even in the early game, was still too little HP. So this makes them very, very good in some ways as a counter. You could... I'm theory crafting right now, baby. I'm so ready. Lycanthrope versus Darkseer. Not bad. I'll say it. Because the Iron Shell damage does magic damage. What's the case where Wolves will actually do a lot of damage output? And that's the case. You could actually deny in last hit with the Wolves, if you have the mana pool for this, of course. Last hit and deny with the Wolves, and take less residual damage. Kind of a cool idea. Magnus' turn rate improved. This means it's going to be a little easier for him to turn around and skewer, for example, after RPing. I like this. Mystic Snake now does pure damage to units in stone form. This is very good. This is going to encourage people to grab Mystic Snake. The problem before is that Mystic Snake did magic damage, and when you make people stone form, they'd have 100% magic resistance, which means your snake does 0 damage. It's like, why the hell am I grabbing Mystic Snake if I'm just going to like turn them all into stone and then do nothing with that ability that I put 4 freaking skill points in? I mean, it'll drain their mana, I guess, but it's like, damn. So this is good. It does pure damage to units in stone form. It really increases the nuke, actually, because that can jump like 7 times or something. At the end, I believe it does about 400, maybe 450, 500, something like that, which is a crap load of damage. If that's magic damage, that's like 600 magic damage or something like that. 450 pure is big, so this could make Snake relevant again, which I think is good, because the few times I played the stats mana shield build, it made you safer for ganking, but I honestly didn't like the damage output in the mid game very much. Did not like it. Meepo base armor reduced by 1. The turn rate is improved. The Earthbind cast point improves. This means it's faster to throw nets, which is going to make it feel a lot more like Dota 1 Meepo. And the level rebalancing. Really? Really? Interesting. Okay. This means you can now have 2 Meepos at level 4. Level 4. 2 Meepos at level 4. Really interesting. 2 Meepos at level 4, which is good. I think that's fair. Especially if you're in a dual lane Meepo in a safe lane position. It takes a long time to get to 6 sometimes, and that means you suck for a very long time and have no kill potential. So this could make Meepo relevant. On the downside, to get the third ulti, you have to be level 18. So it basically makes Meepo better early at a sacrifice of his mid game. It just means you have to get to 18, preferably. Removed 30% stat sharing on non-Aghanim divided we stand. This, in the past, as you would grab stat items, Meepo's other Meepos would still get some stats, but it was a very reduced amount, a 30% reduce. So this means that you're kind of forced to get Aghanims now to make your other Meepos useful, unless you want to grab Mech in the past. Like, that was an old build. Mech Meepo was the only way to build him, basically, to give all of his other Meepos more survivability. You have to go like Mech Pipe, AC Vlads. Nobody does that anymore. They go like Aghanims with a Blink Dagger and a Heart. So, makes him better early. Is going to hurt his stat sharing, though. And his armors are being reduced, so we'll see. Leap AoE MS and AS speed bonus is granted at the cast location rather than destination. This is smart. And the attack speed bonus increased as well. So more buffs to Mirana. This is maybe not needed because Mirana is being played right now, but we'll see. It's not that big of a change. The attack speed bonus increase is really nice. It'll make her better in the mid game. Morph level 4 shift rate improved. So that means if you put 4 levels in, it'll morph faster. Riptide AoE reduced from 450 to 350. A worthy nerf made it a little too easy to splash that on everybody, in my opinion. And snare mana cost increased as well, so makes her a little bit more mana hungry. Nature's Prophet, Treant's XP bounty increased by 50%, pretty big. And the gold bounty is also increased, so can't be quite as reckless with Nature's Prophet. I don't think this is going to discourage people from playing the hero, but they maybe will do less aggressive things with it, with the Treants. Base armor is increased by 1, that's good because Necrolite is really easy to kill. Here has been getting buffs and buffs. He was drafted today, I believe. I didn't see how the game turned out, but darkness causes enemy vision to be reduced by 25%. That is freaking adorable. That is so adorable. So their vision is going to be reduced by 25%, even if it's nighttime. So you could argue that it's worth saving this skill now because it actually does something other than makes it night. Affects heroes, creeps, and wards. That is really cool. What a good way to just scare the shit out of your opponents. Reduces ward vision. How cool is that? Think about it. If you deward common ward spots, they're going to be forced to put wards in less common ward spots, which already don't spot as much. And if you make it nighttime, you make their uncommon wards even shittier. That's cool. That's really cool. I like this change. I don't think it's going to affect the metagame that much. Maybe it's going to be OP. We'll see. And most importantly, though, it's going to make teamfights really hard for whatever team's playing against this. Because think about how many times you get fogged, for example, during nighttime. It's going to be even worse. You're going to be looking... Your vision should be, what, 600 or something? 200, 400, 600. Yeah. Your vision will now be 600. That is like it's going to be darkness, and everybody's just going to be like stand next to each other with their backs to each other, like, is he here, guys? I can't see. That's what's going to happen. So cool. Next assassin. Spiked Carapace no longer stuns your hero when your summoned units proc it. Stuns your hero when your summoned units proc it. Okay. I think that's fair. So, like the bear, for example. Your Lone Druid Bear, if he hits Nyx Assassin, he's going to get stunned. If your Necro 3 hits Nyx Assassin, the Necro 3 units will get stunned. Impale no longer has unit targeting. It's now only a point targeted spell. It's a pretty big nerf to Impale, which could really hurt Nyx Assassin's usage. This means that we will be seeing people missing Impales from now on. A lot of people do target the ground, in teamfights especially, with lots of heroes. But in ganking, this is going to be a little bit harder to use now. So it's going to definitely be possible to juke Impales, especially against worse players. You guys are, I'm sure, going to have a fun time with this at low levels. Ignite duration increased, slightly better. It's now dodgeable. In the past, it was not. It can now, this means it's a projectile and you can dodge with phase or blink. It can now multicast to cast at a random enemy in 14 or AoE. Prioritizes ones that do not already have the debuff. Cool. I like this. That's pretty cool. It's going to make Ignite worthwhile grabbing. And the Unrefined Fire Blast cooldown from 10 to 6. That is a really low cooldown, by the way. That is his Aghanim's ulti one. Degen aura AoE increased, and the stickiness increased. I think this means the amount of time that it stays on you when the aura is not within your range. I might be wrong, though. Our will devour. Base damage reduced by 3. Take that OD. Items no longer trigger Essence Aura. Take that OD. So 2 big nerfs. Not big nerfs, but nerfs to OD. Base damage reduced by 3. Something, but not huge. Most importantly, he can't grab Tranquil Boots and proc Essence Aura. He can't grab the Buckler and grab Essence Aura. That's all really cool. Phantom Assassin Stifling Dagger shares the same crit chance factor as Coup de Ra. This means that you can crit on your dagger now. It's now dodgeable with blinks. Have I been saying phase shift for all this? Everything's dodgeable by phase shift. Don't listen to me, guys. If you're phased, you're not getting hit. But you can now, if somebody daggers you and you blink, the dagger will hit nothing. That's important. And I think that means you can Manta dodge it as well. You should be able to Manta dodge it. I think there's a very, very small point of time that you can dodge anything with Manta. I might be mistaken, but it's like so small, it's almost impossible. It's very hard. And the damage is also rescaled. This is, okay, so it's better at level 1, worse at level 4, which is fair, because once you're level 4, you're going to have your ulti anyways, and all of a sudden, you get crits. If they kept it at 200 and added the crit, this means that, what, 15% of the time you're going to crit with your freaking dagger and do, like, 2 times the pure damage for, like, 400 pure, guys. Like, that's really cool. I can't wait to see, like, montages where they get refreshers and just be like, and then somebody just gets a double crit. Oh my god, that's going to be the best. Alright, that's really cool. I like this change. Really cool change. Spirit Lance is now dodgeable. Another ability that was not previously dodgeable. They're just making everything a lot more consistent and higher skilled, I dare say. Pudge can now use Blink Dagger. Can't wait to play pubs. If you hook a unit onto an unpathable ledge, the unit gains free pathing. What is this? Here's a New Earth? What is this? Alright, they had to do this though. They honestly had to do this. There's something in Heroes of New Earth where, as far as I know, I didn't play Han ever, but I've seen videos of it. If you would contain somebody's spacing, they would gain the ability to run up and down cliffs or something. So like I've seen videos where Clockwork would cog a guy near a cliff or something, and then they would just like run down the cliff and run away from Clockwork. Clockwork couldn't run down the cliff, something like that. They had to do this because Pudge is constantly gonna blink up onto a hill and he's gonna hook people up there. And now this gives them the ability, after the dismember for 3 seconds, they'll have 2 extra seconds to run away and run down the hill. The only way that they could allow Pudge to use Blink Dagger is by also adding this. If they didn't add this, Pudge would become a bullshit hero. As we sometimes see where things like Rubick Lift or Darkseer Vacuum can literally change the scope of programs. So, Flesh Heap magical resistance reduced, but it is better at level 1. And the Dismember Scepter Strength multiplayer increase. So encouraging Pudges to use Ags. Slight reduce in the late game survivability for Pudge. But overall, giving him an option that could make him so much better. So much better. If you can have a Blink and a Force Staff on Pudge, can't wait to see what Dendy does with this. But if you have a Blink Dagger on Pudge, you can do so much more than what you can do with a Force Staff, by far. So pretty cool changes to Pudge. We'll see how this works out. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of really weird fail videos and stuff like that. Like people trapping themselves in trees because they didn't run the right direction fast enough or something. God, you know what's going to be really annoying, though? If he hooks somebody on the high ground, uses them for 2.5 seconds, and then dismembers, then they're stuck up there 100%. Then you could leave them. So I'm sure we'll see people still abuse this. 5 seconds, I don't know if this is going to be enough. There might still be abuses, but that does cost a lot of gold to do all that. Decrepify damage amp on allies reduced. The damage amp on enemies increased. Cool. And Netherward now requires 3 hits to kill instead of, what is this, League of Legends? 75, 300 HP. Heroes hurt for 1, others for 0.25. So this makes it better late game, I would argue. Because late game, everybody hits for like 150, it'd be like 2 hits. Early game, it means the ward was really easy to kill. Most importantly, though, this means that Netherward is much less countered by things like Visage Bats, Treants, Chen Creeps, all that stuff. Now hit for 0.25. It takes 6 hits, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 6 hits for a non-hero unit. No, 4. 4, 12. It's 4, 8, 12. 12 hits for a non-hero unit to kill the Netherward, which is a huge buff to Pugna in the late game, and also makes him less countered by things like Treants, Shadow Shaman wards, Veno wards, all that stuff. All that stuff. The hard counter for Netherward is not as existent. This could make Pugna really annoying to play against. Netherward is already really annoying, but it's going to require Pugna to place it very nicely. Restores mana if it tries to heal you while you're full HP. We'll target it. That is beautiful. That is just downright beautiful. That's beautiful. You can just like use this whenever you want. You can be like, oh, I'm trying to kill this hero. Let's get some mana back. That's cool. Queen of Pain, Shadow Strike, mana cost rescaled. Mana cost rescaled at all levels. So this is going to encourage you to grab more than one level. In fact, and also it's going to nerf you at level 1. It means that Queen of Pain gets a nerf to her Shadow Strike spamming in the early game, which means that melee heroes, in my opinion, are going to be slightly better than her. Because in the past, if Queen of Pain's ever against a melee hero, every time that spell's off cooling, you throw that shit. You throw that dagger out. And it's going to mean you can't do it quite as much. Smokescreen cast range increased. And also, Riki is no longer revealed out of permanent invisibility when you cast spells or use items. This means if you tread switch, this means if you use phase boots, this means if you pop magic wand, this means if you pop dust, it doesn't matter what item you use. Dagon, you could Riki Dagon and they'll see literally lightning come out or burning death come from nowhere and it won't happen. When he starts his attack from Blink Strike, he will be revealed. Okay, I think that's fair. Cast spells or use items. This includes Smokescreen. Does not count for Blink Strike though. Just Smokescreen. So if you Smokescreen, you will not see Riki exist, which I think is it's fair. Pubs are gonna fucking cry, but I think this is fair because Riki is not honestly that good. If you're a good player. Telekinesis cooldown increased, so nerf to Rubick, one of the most popular supports. He can no longer steal the Aghanims upgrade of the enemy if they have Aghanims, and he doesn't. But he can now buy Aghanims, which reduces your cooldown of your ulti down to 5 seconds, which is huge. Lumi argued possibly core, and I think I agree with him. This means you can steal a stun, steal another stun, steal another stun. In the past, when I played Rubick in team fights, I sit there and I'm like, okay, I gotta wait for the good ulti, gotta wait for the good ulti. And you gotta wait for it, because if you skip, if you're like, oh, I'm gonna grab Anchor Smash, and then he uses Ravage, you're like, well, okay, I can't get Ravaged now, for example. So grabbing eggs sounds like, honestly, a really good build-up. You could realistically skip Arcane Boots now, unless your allies really need the mana. You could go Brown Boots with an urn into eggs, and honestly, that's a pretty okay build for Rubick now. It also, like it said, increases cast range as well, makes all stolen spells be considered to have the eggs. Yeah. So now if you steal somebody's eggs or ulti and they don't have an eggs, you now have an eggs ulti. So you can grab it against Viper, you can grab it against Queen of Pain, you can grab it against a lot of really good heroes, and it actually is pretty darn good, honestly. This is a really nice change. I dare say the eggs might make it more relevant than the -4 telekinesis lift, but probably not, because most Rubicks won't have that much farm. Sandstorm DPS increased at all levels. Epicenter attack speed slows now the same as the movement speed, which is 30%. Okay. Shadow Poison AoE increased. Okay. Mass Serpent Ward count increased from 8 to 10. This is a big buff for damage. I saw pictures of this. They changed the placement. It's now a box with 2 on the side. And what this basically means is it's easier to ward trap, because there's now honestly a space right in the middle that allows you to trap people in it. So not only that, though, it does do 25% more damage, which is pretty darn good. Makes the ulti better, and it's easier to trap people. So Shadow Shaman is going to be encouraged to play more. Intelligent Steal on Silencers is an innate part of the hero rather than an element of Glaives of Wisdom. I like this because it doesn't force you to grab your Glaives now in the early game. If you're playing hard support, or if you're playing... Yeah, I think hard support is probably the best example. If you're playing hard support, you don't have to get Glaives, because honestly, your int gain is not going to be that good in the early game, because you're unlikely to get kills. You're unlikely to want Glaives, because your int sucks anyways, because you have no gold, so it's only giving you like 7 pure damage, and it's really not that worth putting a skill point in it when you can grab Curse of the Silent and do at least 20 damage. Like, maybe he'll cast a spell, but what if he doesn't? What if you silence him and Curse of the Silent? It makes you better in the early game. You don't have to waste a point on Glaives, and I dare say that for support Silencers, it's better to not get Glaives, for the rare times when you will be playing support Silencer. Skeleton King base intelligence increased by 5. Big buff here. This is a total of 5 times 13, which is 65 mana. He gets 65 more mana at level 1. If I'm not mistaken, I believe his starting mana is somewhere around 200. Don't know what it is with Ironwood branches or without. Not sure. But 65 more mana. Remember that the stun costs 140. He's going to have a lot more mana to work with in the early game, which means more stun possibilities. Remove the Mortal Strike active, which is the previous thing that was added, where he could reduce the HP of somebody and then eventually get it back. Vampiric Aura now provides full effectiveness on ranged units. This is a really big buff. Vampiric Aura does 30% lifesteal. Now on ranged heroes. Have a nice time, ranged heroes. It's only for attacks, of course, but still pretty darn good. And this is also going to lifesteal now on your range creeps, so keep that in mind. It is going to push you quite a bit more. I guess it doesn't matter, because if range creeps lifesteal, it doesn't matter, because they're not taking damage anyways, really. Reincarnation, the slow increase from 30 to 50. This is a pretty big buff here. And the slow AoE is also increased. So I really like these changes. Rather than making Skeleton King be based around the Mortal Strike ability, which, by the way, cost you mana, which means you had to do more mana calculations, the hero is simpler. He has more mana to work with in the early game, so you can spam more skulls. And Vampiric Aura is better in the late game. And your Reincarnation is better. I still don't necessarily think this is going to make him viable. Honestly, I don't think it will. But it makes him... dare I say better? Having more mana is nice. And Reincarnation is a better slow now. I don't know. I still don't think he'll be played. He's just too easy to kite. Skywrath Mage's int growth has increased to be even better. This means your first skill will do more nuke damage and you're going to have more mana pool, which is important. Also, the Aghanim's upgrade reduces Mystic Flare's cooldown from 60 to 40, 20 to 20, 10, 0. I was spoiled on this one, so excuse me not reacting. This means that you have more mana. You have more mana to cast Mystic Flare, and when you're level 16, you can cast as many freaking Mystic Flares as you have mana for, which is probably not that many. The mana cost of that spell is ridiculous. It's like 450, 650, 900, or something crazy like that. So, dare I say Bloodstone Ag Skywrath is honestly a legitimate item build now. It is honestly a legitimate item build. Ah, God, Bloodstone's so bad for him, though. It's so bad. It's such a waste. Doesn't give you any int, for example, but it gives you so much mana regen. It's like the only item that gives you an overabundance of mana regen. I would argue for a Skywrath Mage who goes like, I don't know, Arcane Eggs or something. You have no disable though, so you can't even... who cares? Just hit 16, it's no problem. I don't know. Bloodstone could be a late game item pickup on Skywrath Mage. More likely you'd be better off just stacking a bunch of good int items like Sheepstick and Yules or something. I'm not quite sure, but it has cool possibilities, but I don't think this is going to make the hero playable, because even still, if somebody has a 4-staff or if somebody has a BKB, that does 0 damage. So, although, God, it would be fun to play WTF mode and just spam this everywhere, which is, I guess you can do that right now if you really want to. So, whatever, have fun with that. Slardar, amplify damage, armor reduction increased, does more at level 1. Or level 6, that is, or the first skill. Better early, sprint speed increased in the late game, scales better starting level 2, and the sprint mana costs are removed. I think this is really good. He has some... this is the best of the three. These two are fairly negligible, but this one I think is really cool, because he does sometimes have mana problems in the early game. And whenever you see me play Slardar, I tread switch like crazy, because you never know when you're going out of mana. Amp damage costs 25, the stun I think is like 145 at level 4, and sprint before this was 50. So this means this could open up to possibilities like Shadow Blades, for example, or other options and less mana requirements. So he sometimes had mana problems in the past. I think it's not going to happen as much now, because this is removed. The 50 less is going to make a difference, honestly. Slark's Shadow Dance duration reduced. That's his ulti. The cooldown increased, but it can no longer be revealed by True Sight. So this means his ulti has less duration, the cooldown is much higher, but you cannot see him with Sentry Wards. It's impossible. Very interesting. Also, this means freaking towers, if I'm not mistaken. Slark literally cannot be seen by towers, fountain, ancient, I don't care what you're talking about. He can't be seen. He can be seen by track, by amplify damage, by dust, I believe. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's right. So this means Slark is now completely reliant in a lot of ways on his first skill, which is Dark Pact, which can remove negative debuffs. That means dust is the only way to gank the guy. So he's going to be a lot harder to gank, but whether or not he dies from these ganks is going to be a lot more dependent on Slark's skill and the ganking skill of your opponents. So I think this is very good. It makes Slark better late game. You can play him more of as a hard carry. You don't have to get a BKB just to be relevant. You could honestly just stack damage and HP items and maybe survive in team fights. You can still hit him with AoE stuns, all that stuff. But he's a lot harder to lock down, and he's a lot harder to just easily stomp because you have a Sentry Ward, for example. So I think this is good. It makes Slark better late game. It makes ulti actually relevant. And most importantly, you will get that regen unless they dust you. But, I mean, you're going to Dark Pact during that anyway, so there's a pretty good chance that you'll be fine. Sniper take aim attack range bonus increased. Alright, slight buff to Sniper. Spectre, you can now continuously use reality on illusions. That is straight baller. That is straight baller. I cannot wait for the top 10 plays. You're going to see like a Spectre ulti, he's going to go and be like, dead. And there's reality somewhere else and be like, dead. And then reality somewhere else and be like, dead. And there's going to be a rampage. It's going to happen at some point in time. I'm calling it now. I don't know when it's going to be, but it'll happen. That's really cool. Reality cast point improved from 0.3 to 0 as well. That's very good. You could actually do a lot of really cool things with that. I think that's really cool. I like that a lot. Also counters the counter of Glimpse. In the past, if you pick Thrall or Disruptor versus Spectre, Spectre will reality into one of the illusions. He'll start attacking. Spectre sends him back, and now he'll just reality to somebody else. No big deal. So that's pretty cool. It makes Spectre slightly better, and honestly is a nice feature addition in my opinion. Does that cost mana every time? I don't think it does. Spiritbreaker, base attack time nerfed, so he attacks slower, which is good, means less bashes. Greater Bash no longer works while doomed. Doom continues to counter the world. And Netherstrike now uses 1.2 cast time instead of a 1 second magic immunity delay. Can be interrupted. Thank the frickin' Lord. Ah, can we just take 5 minutes to have a great time? I didn't bring party supplies. I knew this was gonna happen, but like, I am so happy right now. I like this buff. I like this nerf. This means he's going to have overall less attacks per second during the duration of the game. Greater Bash not working while doomed is fine. Most importantly, though, his Nether Strike can be interrupted. You have a 1.2 second time to stop his bullshit ulti. All right, his ulti is not that much bullshit. The bullshit part is that if you didn't stop Spirit Breaker as he was charging in, he was going to get his full combo off, guaranteed. Even if you're next to your allies, and that was very frustrating. Now what happens is, if he runs in and bashes everybody and then bashes your ally, you have 1.2 seconds of time to stop him. Like, you literally had to bash him before he connected with your ally. Otherwise, he was going to hit it, because as soon as he would connect with his charge, he would start his Nether Strike, and he would become magic immune for 1 whole second. There's no way to stop him. And many times, you've seen it in my videos, I'm sure, a Spirit Breaker will connect with somebody, he'll channel his ulti, I'll land my AoE stun right as he's about to, like, right as he connects. They'll connect with my ally. My stun will be about to explode. He'll barely press his ultimate, and he'll be like, "Rawr!" as my explosion goes up, and then he'll just hit my ally. And it's so frustrating. It's very hard to stop the combo. So basically, he's still going to be very good in those early ganks. But if you're by your allies, it's going to be much, much easier if you have any stun at all to be able to stop him before he gets his ulti off, which will hopefully free up your ally enough time to stop being stunned from the original bash and also land their stun. Huge increase in chances of killing Spirit Breaker without nerfing the hero out of Oblivion. So, very, very happy with this. The magic immunity delay needed to be removed as soon as charge became that fast. And that's strong. Okay. Sven Stormbolt cooldown reduced. Stormbolt is now dodgeable. In the past it was not. By things like, Storm Spirit Ball Lightning, for example, or Blink Daggers, or Invisibility. Invisibility was the one thing that you could dodge Stormbolt with, I believe. So, Kraken Shell block damage increased to 9 at level 1. I like this because I think Tide is the man. It's probably my best hero, dare I say. Timbersaw Chakram mana cost increase, a big nerf at level 1. This needed to happen, honestly. Timbersaw was OP, especially at level 6. Once you hit level 6, you had way too much mana to work with where you could do damage. I mean, this 75 damage, if you landed your Chakram correctly, did 200 pure damage, which is way too mana efficient. Way too mana efficient. That's the equivalent of like a 260 damage nuke or something like that. So, it now costs 100. This is, I think originally when Timbersaw was released, it cost 125 at level 1. I might be wrong. It was like 125, if not more. But I think the last time it got buffed, it went from like 125 to 75, which is a huge change. So I think this needed to be nerfed. I think he was too strong at level 6, personally. And he is very limited by mana, so. Tiny Craigie exterior chance increased to a higher level at level 1, very slightly higher level at level 4. And the stun duration is also increased to be scaling better at level 4. Tree Protector, Leech Seed damage per pulse reduced. So Leech Seed is now worse. Leech Seed number of pulses increased. Duration from 3. So now there's probably more damage. If I do the math, this is 360. Whereas, okay, so it does 60 more damage overall by level 4. Just fine. And more heal, by the way. And the pulses come up faster, which I think is also important, because sometimes what happens is you Leech Seed a guy that's next to your guy that's dying, and he'll only get 2 pulses off before he gets away, which I guess, yeah, it'll give more chances. So let's say, for example, like your ally survives 2 pulses, but he leaves right before the 3rd pulse goes off. if in this updated version where he releases more pulses over time, you'll get like one extra more pulse, so you'll get like slightly more heal. So I think this is good. It makes the ability a little bit better for healing your allies. And it does more damage and more heal overall. Living Armor cooldown rebalance to scale. Oh, damn. Treant getting nerfed. Treant now sucks at level 1. In the past, he was vaguely okay. Arguably good. Means getting him to level 4 is a lot more important now. The cooldown is also a better ability at level 4. The mana cost is also, this is a big nerf to Living Armor, by the way. It by far makes him less of a one-trick pony at level 1. The mana cost being at 50 is big, because it's going to cost you Clarity Potions to spam this now. Actually, maybe not so much, because, like, you can only cast it at level 1 at the same duration. Like, you're using the same amount of mana over time to cast Living Armor now. You just get half the Living Armors. But regardless, the mana cost increase is big, because it's going to make him slightly more item dependent. I guess I just disproved that with the amount of mana you cast over time, but yeah, so it's going to cost a lot more mana. You might still need a Clarity now in lane. In the past, I would never go to lane with a Clarity, maybe one with a Treant. You really didn't need it. You didn't even tango. I would go to lane with like an Ironwood branch and a single tango and be fine. Nature's Guy's cast point improved as well, so you can cast that faster. Alright, whatever. I like these changes. Makes him much less of a one-trick pony. Leech Seed's better, does more healing, all that good stuff. Berserker Troll Warlord. Berserker's rage movement speed bonus rebalanced. So this is good. I like this. This is going to encourage people to put more than one level into Berserker's rage in the early game. At the very least, it'll increase your movement speed. So it'll scale better as you level up. In the past, the first 3 points were pretty shit. All they would do is increase your bash damage and your bash stun duration. Now they do actually increase your movement speed bonus. It always did change your movement speed between 3 and 4, but it's better to level it up earlier now. If you so want to, you could become really fast early and just get like 1 or 2 fervors. Whirling Axe's damage is reduced for the melee one. I think this is fair. The skill was really good. It only costs 75 mana, or 50 mana, sorry. It's a really good ability. I think this is a fair nerf to the hero. Tusk Frozen Sigil now requires a constant number of hits instead of the damage, which is good. Again, makes it less OP in the early game, but still usable in the late game. It is honestly probably too good in the early game. It was really good in the early game. Although you will level it up. So, and also less countered by like Serpent Wards and stuff. And actually, which is important. Somewhat. Well, towers will kill it much slower here. And things like Serpent Wards and stuff aren't reduced by the attack speed anyway. So I think this is fair. It's going to require heroes to kill it, not creeps. Undying and Decay Steel duration increased to 40 seconds at all levels. So this is a buff to the skill if you only want to leave it at level 1. Huge duration. Vengeful Spirit can now use Blink Dagger if you nether swap a unit onto an unpathable edge. Same as Pudge. They have now added Blink Dagger for everybody. Everybody can use it now. So now you can use the abilities for what they're intended for, and it will hopefully lessen abuse. Unless you end up, again, doing the same thing. Stunning them for 5 seconds on the high ground. You could literally blink somebody up there, swap, and then cast Naga Sleep, for God's sake. There's so many ways to abuse this. So many ways to abuse this. God, pubs are going to suck. Venomancer. Poison Nova no longer ignores Invis Hogged units. I think this is fair. I didn't know that happened. Venomous Gale no longer ignores Invis units. This one is absolutely huge. In the past, Bounty Hunter casts Shadow Walk. The Venomancer throws out his Gale just as he goes Invis. It passes right through him, and then he drops the dust or smoke, whatever, and it doesn't matter because the Gale didn't land. So this is a buff to Venomancer against Invis units, and a nice one, I think. Gale damage over time rebalanced. Wow, 0 damage at level 1. But it does a lot more damage at level 4. A lot more damage. That's a lot more damage, guys. This already did a lot of damage at level 4. It was like a 400 damage nuke. But now it does a ton of damage. It does like 600 damage if I'm not mistaken. No, probably more than that. It's probably like, yeah, I guess it's probably like 600 because it's a 50% increase from here and it does 400, so that's probably about 600. I might be wrong though. Poison Sting duration is massively different. This is a lot of time, guys. That's 20 damage times 15. That's like, is that 300 damage if you attack somebody with Poison Sting once? That is ridiculous. That is ridiculous. That's one Poison Sting. It does 300 damage. Oh my god, are we going to see Venom mid? We could, I think, no. It'd be so bad. If you're on a 1v1 matchup, Poison Sting is easily the best skill to level up. And there's nothing else happening in the game. That is really good. No longer dispels healing or disables dagger. I think that's fair. If they're going to buff it that high, it needs to not do that. Plague Ward's now with Poison Sting. What? What? They now have Poison Sting for 50% of the damage at the current skill level? His skills are also good now. When both Venomancer and the Plague Ward affect target only the highest skill. He's so good. Plague Ward's XP bounty increased. He is so good now. Holy crap. I am never, ever putting a level into stats ever again as Venomancer. It is not happening. They're too good. They're just too good. Maybe. Maybe Poison Sting I would skip. Maybe Poison Sting. But damn, dude. Gale does some good damage now. Gale's a lot better. Plague Wards are actually... Oh, God, the Plague Ward's Poison Sting build is ridiculously good. That's really good. That's really good for team fights even. If you can just apply Poison Sting to every guy in the team fight, doing 20 damage per second, that's like 50% of your level 1 ult. Well, it's more like about half. Yeah, it is about... It's a little bit better than half. Or, yeah, a little bit better than half. It's really good. Really good. It does take a lot of levels to get there, but that's honestly really cool. It doesn't disable Blink Dagger, though. Keep that in mind. So you can't just, like, OP disable Blink Daggers. But you can still disable with the Plague Ward damage. Really cool. I like these changes to Venomancer. It's going to make him a lot more relevant. Might still not be played, but he is better nuker. This makes him better in the late game, all that good stuff. There's so many good skill builds you could do. You could do so many different things. You could do a max scale build for a lot of nuke damage with your ulti, of course, and maybe some Poison Sting. You could go ward builds. You could honestly just play Venomancer like a nuker. You really could. Nuke with a Poison Sting. Skip Plague Wards. I would never skip Plague Wards. You need at least one level for vision, but really cool. You could just get like one Plague Ward. This is not bad actually. Get one Plague Ward, max out Gale, and max out Poison Sting. Just cast a Plague Ward in a team fight so you can easily apply Poison Sting for 50% rather than having to go into melee range. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot these don't. It does 50%, but okay, whatever. Let's move on. Really cool. I like Venomancer. He's one of my highest win rate heroes, I think, and I'm pretty pumped about this. Poison attack cooldown reduced to 0 at all cooldowns. This is really good. You can now leave poison attack at maybe like level 1 or level 2. You don't have to get level 3. Corrosive Skin no longer works while doomed. Absolutely fine. Visage base armor reduced by 1, and the base magic resistance reduced from 25% to 10%. Now, is it going to make Visage worse than Trialing? Or in fact, in any situation where he takes damage, he's actually going to be really easy to kill with magic nukes and pretty much any other damage source. In fact, I believe he's going to be at -1 armor at level 1, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't he really low armor? I think he is. But most importantly, he's less tanky in the late game. And the early game. At all stages of the game. He has one of his passes increases his magic resistance, for God's sake. He's really hard to kill sometimes in the late game, depending on the hero you're using. If you have like a very burst magic nuker that only has a couple nukes, he's very annoying to deal with, honestly. Same goes for like Elder Titan, for example. Elder Titan is trouble killing. Not that Elder Titan needs buff, but I like these nerfs to Visage without like nerfing his skill set. He still has a huge skill cap and still has good damage potential, but you have to be more careful about dying. Fatal Bonds now links the closest units to the initial target instead of randomly choosing targets in an AoE. Okay, I like this. Upheaval cast range increased by a shitload. Wow. Upheaval duration increased from 10 to 12. Remove chaotic offering impact damage of 100. Okay. And this increases the golem armor by a bit, and the mana cost increased of the ulti by a moderate amount. I think this is fair. Warlock's ulti already does too much damage. The reason his win rate is so high is because his ulti is really good. The 100 impact damage does not need to exist. What this is going to kind of force you to do, though, is your opponents are going to be forced to be at least slowed or stunned or something, so you can get those flaming fist procs. Those things do so much damage. Honestly, most of the damage comes from the fists. It's really mostly the fists. So this might force more Warlocks into going to an upheaval build. Nobody grabs this skill right now, and with this big range increase, you will see upheaval ganks against heroes that don't have blinks or whatever. For God's sake, we're going to see a ganking Warlock, guys. I didn't think it was going to happen, but it might happen. 1 Shadow Word, 2 upheavals, go gank some shit. Warlock is good before 6, it's official. We're going to see it. I'll gank with Warlock, whatever, if they don't have a blink. Or our Weaver. Weaver base attack time nerfed from 1.7 to 1.8. So, okay, slight nerfs to Weaver. Focus fire remains sticky on the target you cast it on. This means that you can change targets and return to the original target. This is good. I think this needed to happen because I was always really scared to it's like you're committing to focus firing one thing and you can't attack anybody else no matter what. So I think that's really cool. Witch Doctor Death Ward cast range increase. That's good. Makes it less scary to cast it in a teamfight. Voodoo Restoration AoE increased by a moderate amount, and the mana cost over time reduced. Pretty good. 50% of the heal amount. What? Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know if the scaling's worth it. Level 4, it's like very slightly less mana over time. But 50% of the heal amount? That's a big difference. I mean, I would argue that it was too good at level 1, but holy crap. Paralyzing cast now lasts 5 seconds on illusions. Alright, I'm cool with that. Alright, we're on to items. 1 hour down. Oh my god, have I been recording for an hour and a half? Pretty freaking close. God, this patch notes, man. Animal Courier. Movement speed increased from 300 to 350. Alright, HP increased from 45 to 75. I know why this is happening, so I'm not going to freak out right now. I've received some spoilers. This is basically going to require... By the way, in the past, there's only like 2 heroes that could not kill a courier with 1 hit. It's going to now take pretty much guaranteed 2 hits for an early game hero, unless you actually have a lot of damage. But pretty much 2 hits to kill a courier, and they're quite a bit faster now. You can't just outrun them. You actually need boots to stay at the same movement speed as them, so should make them safer. Movement speed bonus reduced by 5, so slight nerf to arcane boots. Armlet, Unholy Strength gain is provided over 0.7 seconds. It has no toggle on or off cooldown. What the hell does that mean? Oh, okay, you can toggle it endlessly. That's what it means. In the past, like, they would have to put a cooldown on it because people would toggle. They would do, they would cheat, and they'd add a cooldown to it so you couldn't, like, OP it. You know, stuff like that. And you could also just, like, spam it on and off. Hypothetically, it's like you could toggle it too fast over time. All right, but basically what this means is that it will provide... You can armlet toggle still. But number one, if you're bad at armlet toggling, I guess there's no point in waiting. It just, like, makes it less good, but still useful. Like, if someone's still doing damage to you every 1 second, you can still armlet toggle to full efficiency. It's just, if you don't armlet toggle perfectly, like, you literally need to armlet toggle immediately after you take damage in preparation for the next source. So it's a little scarier to armlet toggle, basically. Recipe cost increased by 75 for BKB. It's fine, it's used too much. Damage disabled no longer ignores self-damage. So Rod is going to trigger it. HP loss like Soul Ring will not. Okay. This is just basically just a Pudge nerf. There might be other things that I'm thinking of. Abaddon, for example. That might be HP. Is that HP? No, that's not HP loss. That's actual damage because you can deny yourself with it. If it was HP loss, you couldn't kill yourself with it because you can't kill yourself with Soul Ring. So I guess Abaddon can't Death Coil and then blink immediately afterwards. But most importantly, you can't, like, Rod after somebody and then blink forward and continue rodding. You actually have to wait 3 seconds, which is pretty fair, I think. It would probably make Pudge a little too strong with the Blink Dagger. Bloodstone now gives the plus 10 damage. Oh my god, look at that storm buff. Blitz was complaining about no storm buffs. What a piece of shit. What is he talking about? Plus 10 damage. GG, get Bloodstone, guys. Boots of Travel now prioritizes nearby structures first within the AoE from targeting position when ground targeted. Alright, I'm into that. So that you don't accidentally click on the creep and the creep dies. Bottle Gold increased from 600 to 650. Pretty big nerf here. This is going to delay the timing that you get your bottle, which means you might miss the 2-minute rune. And it's also going to mean maybe people will be a little more greedy on the starting item builds. Clarity Potion is no longer shareable, but can still be used on a target ally. This means you can't put it in their inventory and let them use it whenever they want. That's what it means. It can't be pooled. If you want, if you're in a lane together, you can cast it on them. But it means that you can't give a Clarity Potion to your mid laner to go to the mid lane, and then he can use it 20 minutes later. Dust of Appearance slow is increased. This is only applied for invisible units, by the way, so it's not like it just applies 15% slow. If you're invisible with the Bounty Hunter, you should use Phase Boots, because then you overall run faster by far. Yule Scepter Cyclone cooldown reduced, and the movement speed bonus increased now to 40. It gives almost as much as freaking Boots. It's ridiculous. Eye of Scotty movement speed slow, and attack speed slow, moved to 35-35. This is pretty good. Very slight buff to movement speed, but most importantly, can reduce the attack speed of the person you're hitting. Flying Courier, most importantly, cannot be purchased until 3 minutes after creep spawn. The reason this is done, I'm not entirely sure. But this is the thing I was spoiled on. This is why regular couriers now run faster and they have more HP, because this gives them more survivability towards being ganked by wards. If they were the same couriers, people would constantly send a support to go gank a courier, and it'd be the most annoying thing ever. But still, 3 minutes after creep spawn is a pretty significant change. This is going to nerf Bottle Coin slightly, so rune control is going to be more important, something supports will now be doing. Very importantly, I believe later on Bottle Coin is also completely nerfed, by the way, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm not entirely sure why this is implicated, or what this implicates, but we'll find out, I guess, in some other... Go watch somebody else's video, and then some pros video. I'm sure this will talk about more stuff. But I assume it's very slightly about Bottle Coin, which means your mid matchup is going to matter a lot more, and your mid matchup is going to be a lot more dynamic. There's going to be more kills there, and all that good stuff. Gem of True Sight gold has increased. I think this is fair because it doesn't die now, so they honestly last a lot longer now. Hand of Midas, Transmute no longer works against Necronomicon units. I think that's fair because they were a little easy to counter. And most importantly, Dominate can no longer control Necronomicon units. This is the one that really needed to hit. The Hand of Midas one was a nice counter, but not something you wanted to completely rely on. The Dominate one was an easy counter to Necronomicon units. You could just, they'd summon their Necro 3, you would take control of their melee one, and bam, you just made a like 2,500 gold item, or like half of a Necro cost, and you could steal the one that has True Sight. It was definitely too good of a counter, so this being removed is really good. It's going to encourage people to use Necro 3 in the future. Ooh, gold sal. Alright, I didn't see this. Gold increased from 100 to 115. It's no longer shareable, but can be used on a target ally. You cannot give this to your ally to take to his lane and pool him so he can start with a Wraith Band and 2 Ironwood branches. Screw that guy. No more of that crap, which I think is good because people were abusing it a bit too much in the pro scene, and it forced other people to have to do the same thing. And it's like making the mid matchups weird. Like I like that they're trying to bring it back to like basic stuff. It's like you only have now 625 gold. You have more gold, and this is why they increased the gold cost. They increased the gold cost by what? 603 times, what was that, 17 gold that we talked about? No, 22 gold. So you get 7 extra gold, I guess. We'll see what combinations this leads up to, but it allows you to still buy the same item builds, salve, tango, whatever. I don't know, we'll see. Helm of the Dominator, we got that. Gold Hyperstone, Hyperstone reduced. This means AC is 100 cheaper. Mjolnir is 100 cheaper. I think that's it. Lincoln Sphere can now be cast on an allied hero to transfer the buff. See how long it lasts. When a cooldown does not work for you, goes into cooldown when cast, and once the buff is used up. Okay. If the cooldown ends and the buff has not been used up, the buff ends and does not trigger another cooldown. I gotta think about this because this is huge. You can cast it on an ally to transfer the buff. It goes into cooldown when cast, okay, and once when the buff is used up. So if it's broken, it goes onto cooldown again. Correct? I think so. Because otherwise that would be OP. You could hypothetically have 2 Lincolns proc within 20 seconds. So that's fair. If the cooldown ends and the buff has not been used up, so if you cast it on your ally and nothing breaks it, the buff ends and does not trigger another cooldown, which is fair. Because the idea is you never want Lincolns to trigger more than twice every 20 seconds, otherwise it makes the item OP. This is a really cool change. Could make Lincolns entirely useful as a support item. It's not that good of a support item, but it's like you're playing Abaddon basically. Like, pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like this a lot. And there's a lot of really high skill cap uses for this on heroes that do pick up Lincoln Sphere. I would love to see this maybe a bit more on like heroes like Queen of Pain or something, or maybe like more Storm Spirits, or even like farming support heroes. This sounds pretty cool. Like an Enigma, not a bad item now. You could get this reliably because not only does it save you from possibly stopping a roar or a stun that'll stop your black hole, but you can also put it on an ally and save an ally from a gank or an ally during a team fight. I think this is a really cool change. Enigma is probably a hero that comes to mind for something that could use this. You could go like Lincoln's Blink, Aghanim Scepter. Have fun. Maelstrom, chain lane and AoE increased. This is the jump range. Mjolnir, radius around attacker increased. Okay, that's for the big AoE. When you put the buff on somebody, the hit count increases. So this is a big buff to Mjolnir. It will hit more people. Oh, I'm sorry, this is static charge, so it does hit more allies now. This is a pretty big buff to static charge. And the chain lane AoE, same as Maelstrom. Summon units duration increased by 5 seconds. Not too weird. Duration increased from 6 to 7 minutes. Okay. That's pretty big. Killing observer wards now grants a 50 gold bounty. What is this, League of Legends? Okay. Ice Fog, we need to have a talk. No, I'm just kidding. But like, okay, whatever. It gives supports, encourages supports to deward. You could buy back, you could make the money back from a gem. If you deward with a sentry, you get 50 of the gold. Observer wards give you gold. I believe sentries might not. We'll see. But pretty cool. I like this. It's going to encourage people to deward and be more active. Go looking for gold and stuff. Duration increased from 6 to 7 minutes. This means that you have a 1 minute overlap now of getting your observer wards on the map. You're guaranteed to have your wards always up. In the past, if you only have 1 wards and it respawns at 6 minutes, or does it respawn at 3 minutes? I think it respawns at 3 minutes. I might be wrong. Okay, I'll just drop that point. Phase Boot's movement speed bonus reduced by 5, so Phase Boot's a bit worse. Barrier AoE increase, that's a huge AoE. Power Tread's movement speed reduced, so treads are nerfed. Phase Boots are nerfed. Arcane Boots are nerfed. Radiance burn damage AoE increase, not that big. Fresher gives plus 10 damage, not a big deal. Rod of Atos, cripple cooldown reduce even farther. Rod of Atos is getting really good, guys. Movement speed bonus increase from 12 to 16. Really nice buff to Sanjay and Yasha for fast heroes. Sentry Ward gives ground vision and a 500. I love this. This is really cool. Really, really cool buff. Duration increased from 3 to 4 minutes, which is cool. Better for blocking. No longer gives permanent vision around it. This is a really cool change. I like this a lot, actually. This is really cool. Damn, this is cool. Okay. Gives ground vision in a 150 area around it for 12 seconds. This means that if you place it on a hill where there's an observer ward, and it's not right on top of it, you're still going to get that damn ward because you get 150 areas. So basically any high ground, you put the sentry up there, and the observer ward's going to be spotted. And you got 12 seconds to de-ward that baby. If you take too long, you lose your vision. You still have detection because it's a sentry ward, but at that point after 12 seconds you need to bring over courier or you need to do an AoE or some vision for the high ground. But it means it's going to be easier to de-ward high grounds in the early game without also needing an observer ward. So I think that's cool. And it will no longer give permanent vision, which means that if you have a sentry ward in the middle of nowhere and somebody walks on top of it, they will not be seen. Or they will not see anything. Shadow Amulet, fade delays drastically reduced. This used to be 2.7. It was like slightly buffed to 2.4, or slightly buffed to 2.4. It was like 2.6 and then 2.4. It's now a lot lower. This is actually quite low. Shadow Walk cooldown increased massively. Massively. Huge nerf to Shadow Blade here, in my opinion. This means you can't Shadow Blade through wards to get in position to Shadow Blade to initiate. It's like very, very selective use now. Smoked units are now always hidden until the buff is removed, rather than being hidden only from minimap and partially from world. Always hidden until the buff is, rather than being hidden only from the minimap. So this means that if you run through sentries, you're not going to be seen now, I believe. I think that's what it means. You're basically essentially invisible until you're removed by vision or towers. Distance from heroes or towers. Tango charges increased from 3 to 4. Interesting. Gold increased from 90 to 125. So this is why gold is increased also. It's no longer shareable at all. It can be... Oh, okay, cool. So you can still transfer it. When you use it on an ally, it creates a 1-charge non-stacking tango item in their inventory. If the inventory is full, the item will be placed on the ground. The item has a 60-second cooldown. Or duration, I'm assuming. Oh, 60 seconds. You can't just like fill somebody's inventory up, for example. I assume that's what that means. Might be wrong. Gives more regen. Each tango gives like, what, 100 HP or something like that? A little bit more than that. It's like 115. So now they give more. They cost more. You can't share them. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how... I guess I just remade my frickin' starting item build video, and I have to do it again because now the numbers are off. God, that sucks. I did that like 3 weeks ago. Tranquil boots are reworked. Previous boots, whatever, I know how those work. New Tranquil boots, 85 movement speed, 4 armor, 10 HP regen. What the hell? Broken boots, God, that's a lot of HP regen. But that's out of combat. And now they give 60 movement speed, broken, 4 armor, restores when you haven't attacked or been attacked in the last 13 seconds. Restores when you haven't attacked or been attacked in the last 13 seconds. This means... Arcane boots, or Tranquil boots are now bunk on carries. It's official. You will not be able to get Tranquil boots on carries anymore. This is going to force you back into things like Rings of Health, Vanguards, mechs on carries. If the carries actually need a mech, like a Viper or something. But if you attack, you lose the regen. On the bright side, you still get the armor. The movement speed is still really good. It's better than Tranquil boot, or better than Phase boots, better than Arcane boots, better than Treads. But when out of combat, this is basically a support item. This is a ganking boot now. This is officially a ganking boot. It is not a mid boot. It is not a carry boot. You could also argue it's a support boot. Or a offlane boot. I would argue offlane boot as well. Not bad for offlanes. 10 HP regen per second is not bad. 10 seconds out of combat and you got 100 HP. 10 seconds not attacking. Okay, or been attacked. Okay. Maybe not an offlane boot. This is literally just a support boot. Arguably just a support boot. I might be thinking of some heroes. I mean, if you take damage, you can't jungle with them by just standing there like Axe. You can't last hit. You can't attack a hero. You can't harass a hero. This is like a ganking boot. It's literally a ganking boot. This movement speed is pretty sick, though. 85 is huge. It's better than it was before. That's so much movement speed. And it always gives you armor, even in combat. So this is a ganking boot. It's official. Can force you... It's a little covered by Urn already, I would say. But I guess this way more people can have it. Really good for Pudge, I dare say. I wonder if you could rot with this. I don't know. Slow release, cooldown reduced from 10 to 7. Okay. Vanguard damage block increased, so slight buff to Vanguard. Hopefully one of many. I actually like this item. I said it. Veil now uses no talisman instead of the Robe of the Magi. From plus 12 int to plus 6 int. Okay. I'm fine with that. It's a nice build up. Gives you something to build Null with. You don't really need to use a Robe of the Magi. I think this is better. Gives you a lot less int though, which might hurt it in some. It's really not bad, honestly. I think this is a nice change. It increases the cost. Oh no, I think they're the same price. I can't remember. Magic weakness duration increased by 5 seconds. Oh my god, we're done, guys. Broodmother and Slark are temporarily disabled from CM, but they will be added back shortly until they make sure they don't have buffs. Alright, that's it, guys. That is the new patch. Sorry that took 85 billion hours, but I'm sure you enjoyed it, right? That was my first impressions. I was literally spoiled by like 5 of those things, and the rest are brand new. So that's my patch video. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to be doing with Dota Simon at some point, and probably recording that soon because we are like so far behind schedule. I wanted to record this morning, but they were casting, so I was unable to. But we're done. I hope you guys enjoyed the patches. I hope you enjoyed watching me read that. I love reading patch notes, if you cannot tell by my actual expression of emotions. There was zero faking there. I love Dota. I love reading patch notes. And that is the new changes. I don't think any of that shit's that weird. Everybody's like freaking out. Like, oh my god, everything's so different. What's majorly different? Regen prices are majorly different. That shit hasn't changed in a really long time. You cannot pull regen. I think that's fine. Tranquil Boots changing, whatever. Shit's weird, whatever. Smoke change is going to affect the pro scene a lot. Maybe not a lot, but it will. It will affect the pro scene. Shadowblade nerfs is fine. Like, none of this shit is that weird. The sentry duration difference is, it's semi-major, but not that bad. Like, people are going to do ward a lot now, honestly. None of this is that weird. Observer ward change, not that weird. Lincoln Sphere change, it's cool, interesting buff. Like, the only stuff that I think is really weird is the Flying Courier change. Keep in mind, couriers were massively changed about a year ago, and it was a nice change. I think it was a good change. It used to have a shield and stuff, and it's honestly better. What? Oh, that's why people said Bottle Crow wouldn't work, because... Okay, so the Flying Courier nerf is for Bottle Crow, 100%. You now are unable to Bottle Crow before 3 minutes. It's impossible. Well, you can, but your couriers are going to be slow as hell. So rune control is going to be very important at the 2-minute mark. I think what Will was saying about it is, like, if it's... You can't. It's hard to get your courier before the 2-minute mark anyways, so if you don't get the 2-minute rune, it's a really big loss. So you got to get courier, or you got to get the bottle before 2 minutes, and if you can get your bottle before 2 minutes, and you can get the rune, you are going to crush your opponent. Or at least you should. You should have a really big advantage until 5 minutes. So basically getting your first... and by the way, bottle is 50 more gold. Okay, this is all. It all makes sense now. Bottle's 50 more gold. I'm just going to expand on this because this is a huge point. Bottle is 50 more gold now, which means it takes 1 more last hit to get your bottle. You want to get it before 2 minutes because that's when the rune spawns. You also cannot buy cannot buy bottle at level 1 unless you random. So fit 1 extra last hit to get your bottle before 2 minutes, and then your supports after rune control. And if you get the rune, you not only have your bottle before your opponent, but you have 3 extra charges, which your opponents will not have, and you have a rune, which is a pretty big advantage. And they are unable to bottle crow until 3 minutes, so they'll probably have a bottle crow finished by the next rune spawn. So it has potentially huge implications in the mid lane 1v1, where the 1v1 matchup is now being reliant on skill, which is not something... Alright, it's still skill, but lately bottle crowing has lessened the amount of skill required to break even on your lane, basically. If you don't do as well in your lane, you just bottle crow and you get your HP full up anyways, and you continue spamming spells, whatever. You can't do that as much early game, so the first 3 minutes is going to be much more important in terms of ganking, and as well as covering your mid lane. So that's the implications. So that is probably the biggest change. The courier change is the biggest change that I am looking at. That is, yeah, I believe that's the biggest change, unless I'm missing some major hero changes. But the courier change is pretty big. I honestly don't think any of this is bad at all, honestly. I don't see why people are freaking out. I think all this stuff is great. It's going to continue making the game better and hopefully make the pro scene more fun to watch. So that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate it. It's going to take forever to upload. I don't even want to know how big this file is. It's probably huge, probably gigabytes. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Go follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.